I've been hypnotized by you. Hey, all the suffering and pain got me feeling so blue. Cause when it was us, I was never enough. Girl, you got me thinking I was messed up, pushing me down instead of pulling me up. So tell me what I'm supposed to do just to be alright. Girl, you got me thinking I was messed up, yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, definitely good morning to the person that I got behind the scenes right now. But welcome everyone. This is James Hicks to another edition of IT and Live Infotainment News Network. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this, right? I got a guy back here, and I really want to pick his brain, and he's a definite someone who I think you will get a lot of interest from, a lot of insight from as well. Alec Johnson. Lifelong creator, designer, problem solver, author, entrepreneur, father, all the good stuff, right? He started his content creation journey really as an exercise in self-discipline. He's a professed recovering perfectionist who's had an extensive career in a variety of disciplines, including engineering, technology, and finance. We're not gonna go down those paths today. We might. Who knows? Who knows where I may pivot the conversation? But today I want to focus primarily on the mindset focus of Alec, right? The fact that failure is not an option, but rather a requirement for personal growth. That being said, let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Alec Johnson, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks, James. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, definitely. We got some folks in the building already. Let me make sure to. Oh, look at. I'm already got my comments and my branding all right. I wanted to make sure it was right because I didn't want to get in trouble with the recovering perfectionist as well.
Just 2 pixels to the left.
It probably is, right? It's probably not centered, right? And you're going to get me for that in the comments or so. And we got Alicia Way here. How are you, sir? We got Mr. Riley in the building. Look at all these folks jumping in. Look at, you got some fans as well. Glenda's in the house.
Oh, hey, Glenda.
Rabbi David Paskin. So I'm wondering again. So we are doing a early beta of some functionality using Restream.io. So can someone please say if we are actually streaming on Alec, on his channel as well? If so, and if these comments are coming in from his channel, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people actually on my channel. So Glenda and Rabbi David.
Awesome. So are there comments coming right now? The comments that they're leaving, are they coming from your channel?
It looks like they are actually. Yes.
Dude,
yeah.
All right. This is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I will stop talking crap about Restream.io now because we have kind of broken the mold here, and we've got one stream pushing out to all channels and all of the comments coming in. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So Greg says he's watching it on your channel. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so is Glenda. Let me stop, pause, and kind of rewind a little bit. I'd like for you to tell folks who don't know who you are a little bit about you. You can go into the elevator pitch if you want to. You can go into the long, monologue. But I just want folks to get kind of an understanding before we start in terms of who Alec Johnson is, if you don't mind.
Cool. So from the UK originally, in case anybody hadn't gathered that from my accent. But I've been living in Thailand for the past 16 years. I'm a father to 3 lovely children, Jasmine, Emily, and Dale. So Dale's my youngest. So between 2 and 9 years old is the gap where they are at the moment. So as you said, James, sort of lifelong creator, designer, and problem solver. And I actually studied aero engineering at university, aeronautical engineering. First proper job that wasn't bussing tables or waiting tables was working for a missile defense contractor, so designing guidance systems for missiles. And then sort of between then and now, I've gone through a series of careers that are all related to basically design and engineering in some respect. So there is quite a few, so I don't know whether to mention them all, but basically architectural design and construction is what we've been doing in Thailand for the past sort of 15 years. And then more recently, I've got into sort of financial analysis of the US stock markets. And so we've set up basically an algorithmic trading company. So we're in the process of developing some algorithmic trading models and then providing training to people on how to use those and implement them. So there's a few other things in there as well. Also partner in a social media marketing, advertising and marketing company. And one of the things that I did for that was create a course to help basically small businesses grow their business online through social media marketing. And so I did a course for that. And these two sort of course aspects for those two particular companies is how I got into the content creation thing and why I wanted to start the channel, which is all about me basically being able to make these videos in one take, hence the name Take One Tech, without actually doing any editing. Because the first time I made any course material, I was recording and editing, and being a perfectionist, I was my own worst enemy, and I'd have thousands of takes for the most menial little change and things like that. So that's the channel was really an exercise in sort of getting better at being able to just sit down, sort of no script or plan really, and just do sort of ad hoc videos off the cuff on something that I do know about, but haven't really sort of planned out. So
I love that.
To develop the content creation thing for the courses, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean that helping you get out of your own way, I guess, is another way I think of being able to explain that, right?
Definitely.
I appreciate you saying all that, because I really wanted folks to understand that you take advantage of all 24 hours in the day, brother, right? Because it's 5 a.m. your time now, right?
Yeah.
And you've already been up for a while, right? It's not like you are not active. You've got the 3 kids, you've got the multiple entrepreneurship and business activities going, and now you're branching off and doing content creation. So again, I really wanted folks to understand that there is no excuse, right? in terms of staying motivated, staying active, staying relevant, and irregardless of where you are. Again, I'm glad we talked about the fact that you were literally in Thailand, right? Irregardless of where you are, as long as you have an internet connection, as long as you have a phone, as long as you have the ability to connect, you can be anywhere and get things done, right? So, totally, yeah. I mean, because just those statements right there really, I think, resonate and hopefully get folks to honestly get out of a slump themselves by saying, I can't be doing this, or I'm too tired, I don't have the time. Make the time. Alec is making the time. He gets up at 3 o'clock. Maybe we should get up. Maybe we should go to sleep a little bit earlier. You know, what's the old Ben Franklin thing? Early to bed. I don't know. I don't even know if it was Ben Franklin, but I'll leave that alone.
I do go to bed quite early. I should just clarify that so that people don't think I'm just surviving.
What time is that? Because
normally like 8 o'clock, something like that. So
that's too early, brother.
That's too 8 early. And 9. Then it's because I take my little boy to bed. You see, so yeah. I take him to bed, and I usually fall asleep before him.
I love, I wish I could be in your shoes and do that, but I'm a glutton for punishment and still trying to be the guy up at midnight watching the Olympics and watching whatever. I mentioned the Olympics because I see Keely in the building. We see it, partner.
Hey, Keely.
Glad you're here. You see, well, it's tomorrow there too, as a matter of fact, right? Because is it Monday?
It is, yeah, Monday morning. Yeah. I always say I'm living in the future.
I don't understand that at all. I don't understand. I've got a lot of things due Monday, and I can't have it being Monday right now because I've waited too long.
It works really well, actually, the time zone thing for doing stuff. So, like for the stock trading stuff, obviously we're getting up here, after the market's closed, but it means we've got a full day. So the market opens here at sort of 8 o'clock in the evening. So the US market, so any things that we've got to do from that side of, preparation for the day, we can set everything up and then go to bed while it does its thing while the market's open. So it works well for that. And then working with some people in the UK as well, it means that if you're on different time zones, sort of one person gets one block of work done and then it flips over to the other person, and it just works out really well this time zone.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the that title that, I don't know if you put on yourself, or the logo that you curated, right? The Recovering Perfectionist. Talk a little bit about that. I really want to dive into that, because I want to know, talk about being a perfectionist, talk about the steps that you're taking to recover from that, and why you feel that is necessary. Because again, I don't know if I completely see the term perfectionist as a negative connotation. There's definitely positives to that. But talk to us a little bit about being a recovering perfectionist.
All right. So I'll totally agree first, because I've talked about being a recovering perfectionist. It was just something I put when I started this channel. I called myself a number of different things in my bio, but one of them was a recovering perfectionist. And it's this thing of when it becomes limiting to what you're trying to do, and becomes like a barrier, basically, that's going to stop you going that last little step of actually putting something out into the world, and finishing what you started, really. Not something that's a barrier to starting. But I'll have to totally agree that perfectionism is something that also drives really good results in some areas of life as well. And if you're working for clients and things like that, and the roles that I've had previously, I've always felt like things need to be perfect. So if you're building somebody their dream house, you don't want to say, "Oh, it's all right." It's more or less
It's
more or less
close.
okay.
Yeah.
It's got to be perfect in
Right.
my view. And we haven't always achieved that, but we've always strived for that when we were building houses for people or designing houses. And the same sort of thing with, if you're designing an algorithmic trading model, you don't want it to be like more or less okay. It's
Right.
got to either work or it doesn't. And so I've always felt that in every role that I've had, work wise, that there needs to be that level of perfection. And so having that sort of thing that's striving for that is also something that's driven great results. But it's when it becomes this sort of barrier to creativity, and stopping you from doing what you're doing, or becomes too much of a time sink. So it can, it doesn't necessarily always stop you getting stuff out, but it can actually distract from like other things that you need to do. So sweating over the odd pixel here or there. I mean, I've gone and completely redone graphics before that I've been working on, because there's just something not quite right that
Right.
almost nobody would have noticed. And I'm the worst person to actually have as a client if I've got somebody to design a website for me or do something for me. We had some stuff where we had a company doing it, and I've just got this it's a bit of a freakish eye, really, that I can just spot things that are off. And it comes from sort of checking houses. So like when you're doing snagging lists and things like that, walking around a house, I could walk into the house and all of the imperfections just jump out at me.
Wow.
And it's the same with graphics and things like that. So I kind of spot these things. The contractors in the construction business always used to be like a bit on edge when I'd walk in, because I'd just walk into the room and I'd spot things that were, oh, that's 5 millimeters off. And I was also coming from when you're designing really sort of fine engineering sort of things, you work into tolerances of thousandths of an inch, for example. Well, you don't necessarily want thousandth of an inch to transfer over into building a big house.
Makes sense. Yeah. No, makes
Because
sense.
it doesn't matter. But it's I'm quite finicky like that, and so it's
Again,
it can be limiting.
but again, when you think about that, and we won't go into all of them, but some of the past professional experiences that you've had, you had to be that finite and that particular in terms of things that you did. Else, catastrophic issues could erupt. Now, how do you take off the suit and tie from that? Speaking of suit and tie, the image that I use for the thumbnail, that's a nice suit you got there, brother. Look, let me tell you something.
I'm not sure I'd fit in it now after my lockdown pounds that I put on.
You put on the COVID-19. Okay. We won't go into that. But again, so how do you take off that suit and tie, put on the casual wear, and go about the rest of your day? Things that are outside of that. How do you use that same energy, use that same attention to detail when it comes to something like content creation, right? Again, knowing that as long as you've got great audio, video we can be okay with your video. As long as you sound decent, right? We'll give you a pass for that. So we only need about 80%. So I know that may be difficult to hear, but how do you translate that into actually who you are and why you may have turned up your YouTube channel, Take One Tech?
So first of all, that was the thing that I invested in for the channel when I decided that I was going to do this was a mic, and I didn't
Okay.
bother. I've still got a 10-year-old Canon EOS 60D,
Oh, bless your
so
heart there. Bless your heart.
not a bad camera, but I'll be moving over to the ZV-E10 I think at some point soon.
Nice,
But
nice.
yeah, so it was just a case of, this is working. The image quality is not too bad, and I had exactly the same view. The audio needs to be the thing that I need to get right first, and having a bit of good lighting also helps with any camera improves the camera quality, or the picture quality. So those are the things that I sort of upgraded first or when I was sort of setting up this setup really. But yeah, it was a case of setting sort of talked about this before a little bit, but having a minimum viable product for you and what you're comfortable with, and sort of setting that. So there's nothing in my channel that I'm particularly happy about.
Really?
I'm not happy about. Yeah, I'm not happy about, like, not totally happy. I'm not totally happy about my thumbnails. I'm not totally happy about my logo, my website, my content, or anything. But I'm happy now that I'm not happy with it, and that's the thing.
Interesting.
Being
Talk
happy
about
with
that.
being unhappy.
Yeah, talk about that,
So,
because that had to been a dramatic shift, right? Again, coming from, and I'm gonna keep
yeah.
picking at the scab about the ideas of coming from your professional career and history
Yep.
to seeing something on here that you don't think is 100%, it's only 95%. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, like all of the images, for example, in my thumbnails. First of all, let's get past the fact that I just look ridiculous in them in all those stupid poses. My daughter is always like ribbing me about those, that they just look
That is the
ridiculous. Why is Daddy
job of a
pulling funny
father.
faces?
No, that's a job
Yeah.
of a father to embarrass their kids. You are doing a good job, sir. Don't worry. Not saying
Yeah.
that you're embarrassing. No, let me clarify that. But if that's what you're doing, you're doing a good job.
I totally am embarrassing, yeah. But so for example, all those pictures. So when I was planning the channel, so I've been going for 87 days so far, but I spent 4 weeks before actually the first video. So my first video was a live stream, and that was my first live stream. And then actually the next day I went into Doc's office hours for the first time. So it was kind of, there was this build up to it where I wasn't really part of the community or anything like that, not active in it. I was just literally getting all of my stuff together basically. So that was where I had to set this sort of minimum viable product of what I was going to be happy with going out. And so, I thought, right, well, I'll create all of the images for the thumbnails, create the template for the thumbnails and so on. And so all those images were taken just like literally in the course of 30 minutes, sitting in front of the green screen with a camera, click, 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 just take a load of pictures, dump them all into Photoshop. And it was just having to have this thing of like, I'm going to get totally over the fact that I look a little bit ridiculous. I'm also going to get over the fact that if you look at the color of them, the sort of tone of them and everything is quite off. It's not it's not right. It's not like I went to have professional photos taken or anything like that. It was literally just me in front of the camera. When I came to look at them, there's you see the sort of green coming through from the green screen. So although I've done some removal of that in Photoshop, if that was a professional job for me to go and create those things, that would just be so far off the mark for what I would normally like sign off on to give to a client.
Okay.
It's untrue for me. So there's those sorts of things. Like when you look at my my thumbnails as well, if you look at the sort of text alignment, normally they would all have to be like exactly the same corner, point, and exactly the same distance from the border and from the top and stuff like that. When I make my thumbnails now, I literally spend 3 minutes doing them. I just type whatever the unless I've got to get an image or something like that, might take a little bit longer. But you'll notice that just those ones there, the alignment isn't the same. So that using interview mode and leader, they're not the same distance from the top. That sort of stuff would drive me mad before.
Okay.
Whereas I'm literally just like, I don't care, I've done it. And the time that I have, incidentally, when you were talking about the time spent on it, or the time available or whatever. So I wake up at 3 o'clock and I have my little morning routine of meditation and journaling, and then my time for YouTube is basically 4 until 6 a.m. So that's the time that I've got to do all of this stuff. So if I'm creating videos, my average video length is about 30 minutes ish. I can be a bit more precise than that.
Look, I saw Doc's stream with you on it. You know exactly how much it was. Go ahead. Tell us exactly.
I sort of track all of this stuff.
Yes.
It's changed a bit now, actually. It's about 28.2 or something like that.
There you go.
20 seconds. But anyway, it's if I'm making a 20-minute video or a 30-minute video, then I don't do any preparation as such, but I've still got to sort of, switch everything on, switch the lights on, get the camera set up, check the mics, do my little checklist and things like that. And then if I'm showing a piece of software, then you have to, what you have to do, get the things set up for any shots you're doing and things like that. So a 30-minute video probably takes me like from start to finish an hour to sort of sit down, get everything set up, do the video, and then upload it to YouTube and whatever. And then I can't afford to be spending a day finicking over little details of thumbnails. So it was just a necessity to have to actually let that go, really.
So let me ask you about a couple of things there, because you talk about a lot, and I'm wondering, how are you with that? Right. Again, because you've gone for so long, again, noticing and having to deal with, again, that line spacing and that character spacing, like you said in your titles there. How are you progressing? You're 80 some into your journey now, 80 some videos in. How is that from a mental perspective, and how is that just from your ability to let it go and say it's good enough? 99.5% of the population didn't notice that, but you noticed that, and the fact that it is off, it's actually okay that it's off, right? It doesn't take away from what you're eventually trying to do, is deliver some quality content, which is what you're doing. So again, how are you, Alec, not necessarily the channel, but how are you with being able to say, you know what, I put out something that is not 100%, but it's 98%, and all right, it's out there.
You actually hit the nail right on the head there with something you said, because when I started doing it, it was all practice. So there was no subscribers or anything like that. The first sort of 4 weeks before I actually did my first live stream, getting everything set up, it was all to me still like a work in progress sort of thing. And then when I did my first live stream, there was nobody watching because I didn't have any subscribers. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't, I've got email lists that I could have sent this out and people that would actually have been interested to watch. But part of my thing is I want to grow it organically to see how you can grow a channel organically. So day one, 0 subscribers. So I was doing a live stream to nobody, basically. And that was the weirdest experience, really, because I was sitting here in my basement with my green screen background, which is what this is.
Which a lot of folks probably don't realize. I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute, right? That's one of the dopest backgrounds and setups that I've ever seen to be lit so good, but it's a green screen. We'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead, brother.
So yeah, sitting here doing this thing, and I didn't know who who my eventual audience or viewers would be. I didn't really also know quite how the channel would progress, and what the content would be. My idea about the content was that it would always be, sort of more Mac productivity, tech reviews and things like that. But I seem to have just gone down a lot of Ecamm Live stuff because I'm just fascinated by that program and I love it. And so there's been loads of that sort of stuff that I've been doing. But I will go more onto the Mac stuff further down the line a little bit, I think. But so there was nobody watching, and so I didn't have that sort of as much of a self-conscious feeling about it, that there was loads of people watching, because there wasn't anybody watching. But then as I started getting people that were watching and liking the videos and commenting and stuff like that, I realized actually how what an impact it was having on a few people. So not everybody who watches it. I'm sure some people watch it and think, oh, that's helpful. But there's 1 or 2 people who reached out to me like really, really early on, and just told me how helpful it had been to them and how beneficial. And then there's some of these people that I've had quite a lot of communication with and helped them with what they're doing, and that sort of totally overcame any sort of need for perfection or ego or anything like that came with that. And it was that thing of just knowing that what you're putting out is actually having an impact on people. And at the end of the day, they don't really care whether my pixels are, how many pixels to either side of my text on my thumbnail, because they just see it come up and they think, oh, it's another video, and click it. It's irrelevant to that point. So that's been a huge thing for me.
And I say that, and I'm glad you go into some detail, because I say that 1 finger pointing out at you, 3 fingers pointing back at me as well, because there have been times early in the journey, and I think we've all gone through this, right, as content creators. Something has gone wrong, right? We either have a bad internet connection, we have latency, we have whatever the case may be, our scenes don't line up, whatever, and then we get in our own head and we lose track, probably lose focus, and focus on that as opposed to the dialogue, the conversation, the content, which is really what people came for. They, irregardless of, again, if you mess up on video, if I made the screen completely black right now, I'd freak out. You'd probably go crazy too. But people would still, the people that are watching would just wait until we came back. But getting again out of your own way, focusing on what you're delivering, what the whole goal is, right? And your mission, as I stated, kind of in the monologue, your mindset, failure is not an option, but rather a requirement for personal growth.
Yep.
That ability of you to step outside of yourself and say, it's good enough, and good enough is still great. Right. So good. And I don't want to say good enough, it's kind of a cop out, or it's kind of just, being content, but good enough is actually something really good, and you're bringing value. As long as you're bringing value, I think, to the community that you're building, and I think that's what really matters. And as long as we can get out of our own way and focus on that context, I see nothing but positiveness out of that, and continued growth out of that as well. I like what Keely's saying, right? So Keely, to sum up what she's saying, focus on the content as opposed to, I'm summarizing, Keely, okay? The people teaching us about the 2% difference, wasting our time and money. Don't worry about the gear all the time. Have some quality gear, obviously, because the gear does matter. I mean, I'm not going to say go out there with just an old Motorola StarTech. Well, no, those didn't have video. Those didn't have video cameras on them, and I'm probably just dated myself when I said that. But have quality gear for the quality of product that you want to produce, right? If you're trying to reach someone and be very professional in terms of what you're delivering, you might need to level up. You might need to go ahead and, Micro Center, Best Buy, Amazon, whatever. Get the stuff that you can do to make your environment, your content, your stream, and your channel look professional. But until then, do what you can with what you got. But do it as good as you can, right? Don't settle, right? Never settle. Go ahead, man. Talk to us about that.
I was just going to agree, basically, and also have the point of do have a goal in mind. If your gear isn't up to scratch as it needs to be, perhaps, then focus on what the most important thing is first, but then also do have a clear plan of an upgrade path, basically, and how you plan to do that. And so this channel for me is not something that I'm looking to, it's not intended as a primary income source or something that I'm looking to monetize, and I'm not all about the stats and the things like that. It's an experiment in growth and things like that. However, I do want it to be at least cost neutral.
Yes.
And so far it has been. So there's ways that you can do that without waiting for monetization, and that can be it can be things like Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, or things like that. But it can also be, if you've got something that you've
Look
done,
at that.
then that wasn't supposed to be a segue, but it can also be like digital products. So one of the things I talk about is Stream Deck, and I don't intend to make a living out of creating Stream Deck icons, but if you have created some, then make them available. And so that's something that I've done on my site. I've put those up, and it's not intended, as I say, to be this is going to be the golden ticket or anything like that, but it does mean that through sales of those are paying for the website. And I'm not heavily sales orientated. I've even got a disclaimer actually at the top of that page that says, wait, before you buy any of my things, go and check out this video how you can make them yourself. So that's, it's not heavily sort of sales orientated, but having those sorts of things does offset the cost of things. And so you don't have to think about monetization as, something you've got to wait for months for.
That's a good point. I mean, that's a good point, especially and I won't even just say young creators or creators that are just starting out, but creators that are just now getting focused on growing something like a YouTube channel, right? And a YouTube community, because, that 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, that can be a daunting task, right? To get to both of those within a certain period of time frame. But there's so many other ways of getting some type of monetization, building community, like you're doing here with the Buy Me a Coffee. I'm going to buy some of these icon packs as well for the Stream Deck, because I don't want to make them. You've already made them, and I like your style, so I'm gonna get me some Alec Johnson ones. I thought I saw you had something else as well in terms of monetization capabilities. Was it some of the gear here? Well, again, you're using the Amazon affiliate,
Amazon,
right? So again, people I think everyone has Amazon access. A lot of folks have Amazon Prime, and
Yeah.
I think more creators need to spin up an affiliate relationship with Amazon, because we're always recommending stuff, at least amongst ourselves. Might as
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to buy another microphone, I might as well use your affiliate code so you can get 15 cents off of, or whatever the case may be. Just again,
Yeah.
helps increase your slush fund, because
Yeah.
I know you're
Okay.
looking to buy something right now, the Sony ZVE 10. But again, that just helps again. Helps with your overall goals and dynamics as well. So I mean, you've got some stuff on here that I've been looking at. So I'll yeah, you got to get rid of that Canon 60D. You got to get rid of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, yeah. But so to that point, though, part of that thing is just to be. I'm being quite stubborn about the upgrade path, and the reason is that I do want. There's people that have specifically emailed me and said, I really appreciate that you're doing all this and showing how to do it without the latest stuff,
Yeah.
because it's very easy. And trust me, I'm the worst for gear acquisition syndrome. The latest shiny thing. It is a thing for me. So that's something that I'm trying to be a little bit, going against my normal tendencies with that as well, just to prove that you can actually do this. You don't need to have the latest camera and there's a new one out. There's some people who have got, who bought a Sony maybe 2 months ago, and now they're really stressing because the new Sony ZVE-10's come out, and they're thinking, oh no, what do I do now? Should I send my other one back? And the one that they've got is fantastic. But there's a new shiny object come out that they need to have. So there's that. But the Amazon thing, so I was surprised by how quickly that worked, because I don't do sort of major sort of product reviews or anything like that on my channel. I'm not like really heavily pushing the Amazon stuff, but I do just mention, if I've talked about a product, then I'll say, oh, there's a link in the description or whatever. And I remember that it was literally within a week of doing my, of setting up the Amazon affiliate, I got my first sort of notification of having, earned commission, and it was 25 cents, and it was like the best 25 cents I've ever earned, because it's just this thing of it's just it does become a sort of passive income once you've started creating this thing. And I'm not making huge amounts of money off it, but it does all help towards the offsetting the costs, basically. So
exactly
it's all good.
But I would beg to say that proves that you're doing good work, right? Again, someone has listened to your message, seen your message, seen your content and your recommendation, and they are relying on you as a subject matter expert in the field and saying, you know what, Alex says go out and get this and get the big stream deck instead of the little one. Why? All right, because he did this video. So you know what, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to not only buy it, I'm going to support him in the end as well. It may be whatever it's going to be in his PayPal account or whatever, but still, I mean, that just shows relevance for the content that you're putting out. So definitely kudos to you on that, man.
Oh, thank you. And that actually is a little bit of a responsibility as well, that, not to be taken lightly, that you are recommending stuff. So there was a case where I talked about, I didn't even recommend buying this specific product, but it was one of the little, presentation clickers, Logitech remote for.
I've got that one. Yeah.
I talked about how to use that with Ecamm Live, because I just figured out that it just works with Ecamm Live to switch scenes. So I mentioned that, and then somebody in the comments wrote me and said, "Oh, I bought it and it won't work." And it's the Logitech one that everybody uses. But if you look on the Logitech website, it says it's not compatible with Mac. And I don't understand why they've got that on their website. But this person contacted me and said, like, oh, it's not working. And I bought it just because I saw it on your channel. And now I think I'm going to have to, and I was so excited about it, but then now I'm going to have to send it back. So I actually went through and made another video. And first of all, went through all the steps of setting it up and just basically said troubleshooting. I'd never had any problem with it, but I made a troubleshooting video for it. And then this person contacted me back and just said, oh, thank you so much. It's all working now. So there is this thing of like a real responsibility that if you've recommended something, and I just imagine this person being so excited about this thing of, getting this thing and being able to use it, and then figuring out that, the disappointment when it didn't. That sort of responsibilities on your shoulders as a creator, I think, if you're recommending stuff.
So let's talk about you being a creator and kind of the responsibility and kind of the pressure that we put on ourselves. Live stream every day in August. You've been participating in that. It's only the 8th. We got a handful more days to go. I should be participating, but I don't know. I didn't take the time. I could have made the time, but I didn't take the time. But I'm following vicariously in your footsteps. How was that going?
Well, first of all, the thing you say about the time, I had not budgeted the time for it, because before I started, I did a live stream the day before, the last day of July, and I said, oh, I'm doing leader. And I thought what it was the sort of creator community in general just says, let's do a live stream every day. And that's like the extent of it. I didn't realize that there is actually a whole organization to it.
Oh yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
And then you've also got everybody else doing their videos, and you know that its power is in the involvement and watching everyone's videos and commenting on those. So I'm feeling quite guilty because I haven't had the time to go and watch, first of all, definitely not everybody's videos, but also I haven't had the time to devote as much as I need to it, really. So it took me by surprise, because I wasn't previously part of the live streaming pros community. I didn't even realize it was Loria that was doing it.
Yeah.
And so when you get these challenges every day, which is you've got to make a video on some topic, and I won't go into what they all are, but it's they're really it is a real sort of program of self-development for people. Is the first thing. Yeah. So you do sort of have to dig deep and search for ideas and answers and things like that. So it's been really great. And just another sort of biggest part of it for me is there's loads of people from our community that are in there doing it,
right? And
getting to know people so much more, in a deeper way through watching their videos and sharing my experiences is a real sort of exercise in bonding and community building in itself.
I love that, and Keely, I appreciate you in your statement there about I stream consistently already, but I like the statement that you made, that there's a responsibility, right? Once you start it, though, you feel the responsibility and you feel the connection to the community, and that's what it's all about, right? We see some OGs that are out there streaming and part of Lita, because again, it's a constant evolution, it's a constant growth, it's a constant just making sure, honing your skills. It's just the more times you get up at bat, the better that you are. You still see professional athletes that get up and train and practice every single day. Why? Because that's just how you get better. And there is, I love the missions as Luria has them laid out. I've seen more people show other sides and multiple emotions as well. I think I may have teared up the first, last year when I did it as well, right? Just because, again, you're pouring so much out and you're so bare when she asks you to talk about these particular things and you look inwards of yourself, that you can't help but grow, right? And as a person, as a professional, as a content creator. So she knows what she's doing when she sets these missions up and she makes folks do them. I'm, again, vicariously watching a lot of folks. I'm still part of the community. I'm watching everyone that's doing them, and I see, was it 86 of, you're 86 of 100 of already, because you started much earlier and you're pretty consistent with the leader goals as well. So I'm watching you, man. I'll come in with my customary, what up, yo, in the comments, and then I'll just listen. I won't leave too many comments, but I love it, man. I love it. So, okay. Glenda, did you just leave this comment on Alec's channel? I would be curious to know, because
I think she must have done. Yes, she did. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see him. I gotta keep up. I gotta focus on Alec, though, right? The comments are secondary, right? Now, this is an interesting, intriguing conversation that I'm having here. I need a mod for Ecamm. I got a mod for for YouTube. I need a mod for Ecamm. It's all good. Let me talk to you about being an uncertified polymath.
That is my tongue-in-cheek way of calling myself a jack of all trades, really.
I bring it up at this particular time in the conversation because I think it's relevant for a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. So for folks who don't know, give your definition of a polymath, and then tell people and then explain why you feel that way. Because I don't doubt it. And I wish there was a way that we can get you certified. You know, I'm sure there is, but the fact that you're uncertified is just fun in and of itself. But talk a little bit about about that.
Well, so that's, somebody who has a sort of interest and deep knowledge in a broad range of fields, in a nutshell, essentially. So that is just something that, when I was writing my little bio for my channel, then recovering perfectionist, and that, because I found it hard to, when people watch my channel, or ask me what I do, it's a very difficult question, because there are, quite diverse things. And it was only when I've sort of stopped to think about it that I've, sort of summed it up, basically lifelong creator, designer, and problem solver, because everything that I'm doing is design. Even the trading stuff is still problem solving and design. It's very much, and very much designing solutions to problems, or I also have a history in like graphic design and web design and things like that. So that's all coming back to this sort of design and engineering perspective. But they do appear on the surface of it like quite different disciplines, and so that's why I sort of chose that term, really, just to kind of sum up a broad range of experiences. But you could also say, jack of all trades and master of maybe
Quite a few,
a small number.
No, don't be humble, sir. If I have a hard math problem, or if my kids have a hard math problem in school next year, I know who the first call I'm making, because I would just tell them to go C right down the middle, Scantron. I'm calling you for sure. Let me ask you about, from a technology perspective again, right? So a lot of the content that you're creating is around tools, hardware, software, services, and things like that. What's and don't say eCam. What's a piece of technology that is probably your favorite, or what's a piece of technology, service, hardware, whatever the case may be, that you rely on a regular basis?
Okay, so the thing that I did actually consider doing a channel on is Microsoft Excel.
Wow.
Now,
Master of the pivot table, huh?
Oh, so pivot tables is one, but Power Query is just a completely different level. Power Query basically allows you to link it into SQL databases, and you can do so much more with Excel than people basically scratch, 1% of what just basic Excel can do. But when you link it with Power Query to do all sorts of back-end sort of database work as well, it's really quite a phenomenal tool, and it's something that I've used for since almost its inception, I think. Okay. So I've used it through, while I was at school, through university, then in all the roles I've done, it has been central to everything that I've done. So it is the sort of tool on a sort of professional level that goes through everything. So even building houses, I made a spreadsheet that I could basically cost an entire house build in a matter of hours, because I could just put in all of the parameters and things like that from the plans that I'd created, and then it would just automatically spit out, this is how much the house costs. Amazing. So those are the sorts of things that I'm doing with Excel. With even with my YouTube, I've got a spreadsheet that just basically tracks not any of the actual YouTube stats. They do a good job of that, but things like the time, the type of video it is, and all those sorts of things. Then I keep a track of that, just so that because I don't really need to do that, but that's part of my little OCD nature.
So,
and then
I'm sorry. So let me back up a little bit, and I'll let you continue. But is that something that you're creating, even though you think other folks won't use it? Is it something that we could probably get some value and some utility out of? Because again, we're all looking. A lot of us are looking at analytics. We're looking at numbers. We're looking at views. We're looking at what content and what messages resonate with our community. Is that something that you can throw up on your website? Take one tech and sell it. I don't know.
It could be.
I bet
it's one of these things where there are so many different things that I do, and there's I haven't got the time to monetize them all. So
that's a good problem to have, man. That's a good problem to have.
It's difficult, and it's the same with all the Excel stuff that I do. It's become it's kind of an extension of my of me when I'm working, really. So there is a lot of stuff that I could do in that sense, So I mentioned it on one of my live streams the week before last, I think, and somebody asked me like, "Oh, can I make a video on how to use Power Query with Excel?" And it's just not really right for my channel, because it's a bit, it's very niche, and it's very advanced for what most people would use Excel for. So it's great for doing analysis of financial data and stuff like that and stock data, but it's not necessarily going to, that particular feature isn't going to be
Right.
useful to a lot of people. So it's one of those things of just trying to have a focus on the on my channel of what I was doing. But in terms of a tool, though, that was the question. Excel is the one that has been through all of the different roles that I've had. That is the thing that is the sort of,
Okay.
the foundation
Yeah.
of them all. If you want to talk about stuff that I use for general productivity, which is stuff that I will be covering on the channel, there's kind of like a few different apps that are also used to automate a lot of the things that I do. So I use Keyboard Maestro, which is an app that allows you to basically record different macros and things like that to perform actions on your Mac. So I use that one and have that linked in with Stream Deck. So there's a great app for Stream Deck that allows you to trigger Keyboard Maestro actions. Actually, there is a Keyboard Maestro plugin for Stream Deck, but that isn't as good as one that's called KM Keys, which is a third-party one, but just has a much better integration for some reason. So I use Keyboard Maestro. Then I use things like Text Expander as well, which is basically you can type a little series of keystrokes and it will populate a load of text. So those two work hand in hand quite well together. Then I also use Hazel, which is a application that's basically it can watch folders and things like that, and it can perform actions depending on what happens on those folders. So for example, if I go to an email and I have a bank statement or something like that and download it, it recognizes where it's been downloaded from into my downloads and automatically files it away into the right folder. It can also do, you can have it go into a folder and then do optical character recognition, and then it will sort of put that into various different places. So those sort of three apps are kind of like a core of all of the ways that I sort of automate stuff and speed up my process on the Mac, and they work really well together. And then, as I mentioned, Stream Deck, with the Stream Deck, that's been a game changer as well.
Definitely. Folks, look, I told you to bring your notebook and a pen or something to write notes, stuff down, because I knew Alec was going to bring some winners there. Let me get those links from you, Alec, afterwards, so I can put them in the description. I pulled up Keyboard Maestro while you were talking, but I'd be interested in, as well as I'm always looking at. I don't want to be a subject to the tool, but I'm always looking for the right tool to again help automate, to help with the overall workflow, right? Because we're all getting more busy. We're all getting to be a little more complex in terms of what we're doing. Again, talking about from a content creation perspective, and what can we use to take out some of the tactical things, be more strategic? What can we do to automate some of the things that we do every single day, all the time, right? I mean, I know there's a conversation coming, speaking of Ecamm, with Descript, right, in next week, right, of how to actually do transcription and things like that. I mean, that's phenomenal, right? Everyone is always trying to break up their content and do micro content, and that just seems to be a way to go. So I'm sure I'll be watching it. I'm sure you'll be watching it. But some of these tools that you just mentioned as well, I definitely want to see if I can put these in my toolkit and take advantage of. Yeah, again,
these.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just very briefly, these sort of tools are definitely something that I will be sort of moving on to cover on the channel. And it's kind of like what I set out to do originally, but I just went a lot down the Ecamm route because it's what I've been using. And then there's something about, I don't want to talk about Ecamm too much, but there is something about that program that I can't quite put my hand on. It's got some special sauce in it or something. If it was a food, I'd sure they were lacing it with some sort of drug or something, because
it's got some crack in it. I said that. He didn't say it.
It's got something there. I don't know, but it's really it's got this little hook in it, and something that it's a very Mac-like application because it's got this sense of it really delights you. But then also there's a community around it, and the Ecamm community, I kind of still have to pinch myself to realize that this is a community built around an application. There's not many applications in the world that have got such a tight community sort of feeling to them as well. So, so that's why I've tended to do largely Ecamm Live or Ecamm Live related content of late. Stream Deck, but how to use it with Ecamm. Logitech Clicker, but how to use it with Ecamm. How to set up a camera for Ecamm.
That's all good.
But
man.
I will be going more down the sort of Mac productivity stuff, because the more things that I'm doing, I realize, the people who are using Ecamm are essentially all Mac users. So anything to sort of speed up processes on the Mac for them will be still welcome, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that it's not by accident, right? The fact that Ecamm is so followed, so loved and endured by its users and by the community, right? It's since it's a Mac product. Look, I worked for Apple for 10 years, so I'm part of the cult of Mac, right? I'm an old Steve
Yeah.
Jobs guy, right? I had my
Uh-huh.
one-on-one with him, one of those infamous one-on-ones with him, and so I've been drinking that Kool-Aid for a long time, and the fact that Ken and Glenn decided to just do Mac focus on Ecamm as opposed to making it cross-platform. We know that we, again, in the Mac community, look for creativity, perfection. We look for just being able to do things before we even think we need them, right? The iPhone came out and took the headphone jack out before we thought we wanted it taken out. Oh, now everyone's following in that footsteps. Everyone talked trash about it, but now no one has a headphone jack in it. Just stuff like that, and just the elegance of it, right? Again, the fact that we can run a large looking, very professional production from a smaller footprint, right? You just really just need a camera, mic, and a screen. So I think that is one of the things that's drawn so many folks to the community. I just want to be in the room when you, Ken and Glenn, sit down at a table and maybe pull out a whiteboard and just start drawing ideas. I want to be at that community meetup and be sitting at the next table, because I don't want to interrupt. I just want to be like, look at these three right here knocking it out. So.
They've definitely got the perfectionist streak in them as well, I can tell.
Yeah. I'm hoping that happens sooner than later as things start changing within the globe and within the world. So hopefully we can have something like that before too long. I wanted to talk about the green screen because it took me a long time to find the bad lighting. It took me a long time to find the crease in the screen, and I haven't found it, dude. Your set is dope, right? And again, it's not even that, right? Right. I thought India Delgado had the best green screen when she was doing it, but you know what? You guys are both you both get the gold medal on this one right here.
The funny thing about this image is it's not even actually a real photograph. It is CGI.
See, you're showing off. See, why talk about it, brother? Now you're just showing off.
But it's I don't know what to say about that, really. It's just something that because I use this setup for other things as well. Like I use it for work, Zoom calls, Teams meetings, and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily want to have a purple background on my work calls. So the reason for the green screen was basically to have something that was, I could use it for different circumstances. And actually, I had a green screen before I started this channel because I was traveling quite a lot pre last year. And so I used to be moving around quite a lot. And so I'd have a portable green screen that I could use when I was on meetings, because if I was in a hotel or something like that, I always had this consistent background. And it was when I was also recording my course material for this other thing that I was doing. So I needed to have that background the same for that as well. And it meant that I could, it was obviously a total MacGyver job, a homemade frame thing and green screen. But it was, that's when I first started using the green screen. And so when I sort of became more stationary last year, not moving around, then I just actually set up something a bit more permanent here. And it's just about basically making sure that the screen is tight at the back and making sure the screen itself is well lit. And then the other thing is that people get wrong, I think, with green screens is, first of all, not having the angle correct. So you've got to think that the angle of the camera needs to match the angle of the view of the background, but then also try to match the tone. So this has got a bit of a warm tone to it. So adjust the warmth of the in your camera, either the Kelvins in your camera or the warmth of the light that you've got. And then also, because there is a sort of a blue tone on this side and a purple one on this side, then I've actually got two small lights on either side that are bouncing those colors off my head. So there's a bit of a purple tone here and that to try and make it match basically what's going on in the background. And that's those are the sort of 5 things really to sort of get right with it.
See, and Miss Dunn here is like, she's picking too, right? She's with her percentages. I have a suggestion on the lighting for the green screen, but that's 2% stuff, right? She again going after that perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
Change it from 5600 to 5500. No, Keely, we're not going to do that. We love you though. That's good.
Do you know one of the reasons why I had this particular background is because I could have different sort of lighting tones in the scene. So I could make it sort of daylight, the actual background picture, have it either sort of a daylight effect or warm light or different colors or things like that. So I always imagined that when I started the channel, I might actually have a sort of different look to it depending on the content I was doing. So it would sort of differentiate between the topics. But ultimately, I've never bothered doing that. And so I've just left this one all the time.
You got it going on, brother.
That was my thought process with that.
I love it, man. No, you got it going on. Your look and feel, your content is amazing. We appreciate you for everything that you do. And just recently, I noticed and realized that you again had products and gear and services that you were selling as well. So, like I said, I'm probably going to pick up some of those Stream Deck elements as well. Talk to us about real quick, and just in terms of wrapping up, what's next? What's next for you, I guess, personally, professionally, and primarily from a content creation perspective? What's next for you, Alec?
So with the channel, day 87 and done 91 videos. So when I get to 100, basically, I'm going to I've actually already considered I'm going to just extend it to 365 days, 365 videos. But at day 100, I'm going to stop to sort of reevaluate and maybe update those thumbnails and things like that and just sort of refresh what I've done. But I did make the conscious decision at the beginning to not sort of tweak anything until I'd done the 100 videos. So that's what I'll do after 100. And then in terms of other sort of content creation, I'm just at the moment refreshing the course material that I did for my one of my other companies, and then I'm creating a whole new course related to the trading stuff. So I'm still producing videos for those sort of in the background that's going to be released at some point. So those are the main things from a content creation point of view. I also want to get into repurposing my content a bit more, actually. So I did I set up a TikTok account after I watched Doc Rock talking about TikTok with somebody, I forget who it was now, but anyway, so I set up a TikTok account and I was gonna do a load of videos to that, and in the first 5 days I put out 30 videos, but then I just fell flat on my face and stopped because there was just something happened the last 2 weeks that meant that I just didn't have the time, and I thought, well, I'm not going to stop my YouTube stuff to distract me to go onto the TikTok stuff. But I do want to, after day 100, get a bit more organized in terms of repurposing content, because I'm not really doing any of that. So get that going out to other platforms.
Makes sense. Yeah, TikTok can be a distraction, right? Again, you can go in there with a focus of, again, creating micro content, but it's actually easier. I shouldn't say that. It's different than something like Instagram or something like Snapchat or whatever the case, because you can actually directly upload from the desktop. So I have noticed that has been a lot easier for me than creating something for Instagram and trying to make that look a certain way. So as again, trying to do all the things with only 24 hours a day, and so.
The other one was Jar. So Descript, obviously, you can do your, get your, what's the word? Like edit them and get your captions and things like that out of Descript. But then also Jarvis, which is the one where you can create content. So we've talked a lot about that sort of in the past few weeks in the sort of community. And so I was looking at getting started with using those, but I just figured I'm actually going to not do anything with that until after the 100 things finish, because there is too many things to go after them all, and that comes back to this perfectionism thing, and like make sure that you are not overwhelming yourself with or not taking on too much. I don't want to use the word overwhelm, but it's not taking on too much and committing to doing too many things that is unrealistic. So that's minimum viable product that is at the same time manageable.
There you go. Right. I mean, I'm not even going to try to close it out with anything else. The minimal viable product there, Alec Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, he just gave us all kind of information. And again, like I told you, if you didn't come with your pen and paper and take some notes, don't worry about it. I got you. I'll put all those links to some of the products and services and automation tools in the description, so you can take advantage of those as well. Alec, you're doing it, brother. Right.
Thank you.
I'm a fan. I just want you to know that the videos that you do, the even though you may not see 100% perfectness in the stuff that you put out, I love the yellow and the what is that, the aqua or whatever. I love the consistency. I love the message. I love the sense of humor, and I love just the fact that you are doing it for the right reason, because you're looking for a means of taking better care of yourself, right? I really think that that's kind of a goal, right? That you're doing it to
Sure.
realize that I've been, and I say this positively, right? I've been so tightly wound
Sure,
and
sure.
so focused on doing things 100% right every single day because of the things that I've been involved in from a professional perspective, that there was no margin of error, right?
Uh-huh.
Now you're letting yourself breathe a little bit, come into your own, and amazingly enough, and rightfully so, you're finding a community that supports you, a community that agrees and just embraces you, and
Yeah.
you're really flourishing, man. So kudos to you on that,
Oh,
brother.
thank you very much.
What time has the sun come up yet?
Well, this is the thing about recording from a basement. I
Oh
can't
my
quite tell,
gosh.
but it will be coming up soon. It's 6 a.m. here, so yeah.
All right, we're done. Go out there, enjoy the sun, enjoy your family, brother. I will talk to you
Oh, thank you
soon.
so much.
Appreciate you, everyone, also for joining. Enjoy your day and take care of yourself. We out.